Hello, everyone. Welcome to chapter 2 of Eckhart Tolle's A New Earth. I'm just doing some housekeeping here. Okay, so interestingly, chapter 2 of A New Earth is about the ego, the current state of humanity. And boy, have we had some human things happen this week. So I'm just so glad you are all here. Vivian, hello. And hello, everyone joining on YouTube.
Hello.
Hi, Cindy. Hi, Jeannie. Hi, Debbie. Let's see. We've got a lot to cover. The chapter was super heavy, super dense chapter. And still doing a little background work here, making sure everything's working right the way it's supposed to before we get started. If anybody has any comments or anything about the chapter, feel free to let me know. I do have some notes. Hi, Mandy. Hi, Holly. Hi, Gina. Hi, Debbie. Hi, Vivian. Hi, Krista. Hello, and everyone on Zoom. I'm so glad we're all here together because boy, what a week it has been. I'm trying to get this to look like there's not two of me, but I'm having a hard time doing that. So that's okay. We'll just do it like that. All right.
We might need two of you.
Huh?
We might need two of you.
I'm struggling being one of me.
Oh.
This week's been.
Can we do green eggs and ham next time? That might be more my speed.
But without challenges, there's no growth, right? Our biggest challenge.
You'd have a comeback for that. Fine. I have Jeannie reading to me. I'm like, huh? Okay.
So if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, please put your questions or comments. I do want to give a shout out to my wonderful niece, Mandy, who is the person who gifted me this book in 2014. I know I've said it 100 times. She's here today. I'm so happy she's here.
There?
Pardon? Oh, I thought I heard Cindy say something. So good morning, Glenda. Good morning, everyone. We are here. So just to address the elephant in the room, no pun intended. When you get it, let me know. The C. Kirk incident this week has stoked a lot of egos. And when I was reviewing for the book club this morning and I saw Ego, the current state of humanity, I thought, boy, the universe sure puts us where we're supposed to be at the right time with this book club. So it's interesting. It's interesting. Hi, Kelly and Glenda. It's very interesting to see the inflammatory remarks from the ego that have happened in the news cycle this week. People who will never condemn this type of action. I'm trying to be careful with how I state this, but everybody knows what happened this week.
Right.
People who condemn this kind of action only when it's somebody they believe, not when it's young school children.
Right.
Or Democratic lawmakers who are, this happens to in their bed while they're sleeping. The attack on Nancy Pelosi's husband, where was this energy then? So it's very clear to anyone paying attention that, unfortunately, these types of events are happening, and they're being used to inflame an egoic situation already that's already kind of inflamed. And yeah. And I don't understand how the people who agreed with him originally can't see the hypocrisy of this whole situation. You know, you guys all know, you all understand what happened, but it's a fascinating societal, sociological event. And it's so backwards and biased. So the whole point of this book club is to help raise the vibration. And so we don't fall into that negative spiral, because when we do fall into that hate, we can't accomplish anything, you know, and love always outweighs hate. I don't want to say
good choice of words.
Yeah.
I got it.
I don't want to say the thing Hillary used, because I thought, why would you use your opponent's name in the, I thought that was, I don't know who came up with that, but if you know, you know. All right. Mangled said, thank you for being here. It's sad and stuff, but he was playing with fire. He was a young father. It's not fair to his kids. And with that being said, low key proud of myself for remaining calm, because that's all I can do. Hold the light. Sometimes the mission is to hold the new frequency, be a human lighthouse. 100%. Right. If you can, we need to simply witness, walk with compassion, because that's the goal. And that's interesting, because I saw a video from Therapy Jeff. I follow him on my socials. And he said, it's okay not to have empathy for someone who said vile things about a large portion of the population. It's okay not to have empathy, but to have compassion. Like, you don't have to empathize with him and feel sorry for him, because that trains us to love and care for our abusers, when we shouldn't love our abusers in that way. We can say, we should have boundaries around our empathy. You can have compassion for his family and for him as a human that lived on this earth, but no, not empathy for what happened, because, and I found this term out yesterday, it's called stochastic terrorism, which is a type of a person who has a big microphone and says a lot of vile things, but has plausible deniability, because they're not actually doing any crimes or anything harmful. They are just stoking it and then letting the other people do their what they wish. So
you know what's interesting?
Yeah.
Is that he professed to be a God-loving person, but yet he was so anti this, anti that, bigotry, this. And wasn't Jesus one of those? I'm afraid to say anything. I don't want to get kicked out of
but he was an immigrant and a brown man, and he was not a white man. No, he was a Middle Eastern man. And so
that's weird.
But well, because when all that stuff in history happened, when Christianity spread through Europe, they morphed his images into being a white man. You know, if you look at the history of the paintings of Jesus through time, he went from a brown man to a white man. I have actually a statue of Mary and Jesus that my brother-in-law, who's since passed, gave me. And I was looking at it a couple of years ago, and I go, this Jesus has blonde hair. I go, it didn't occur to me. It didn't occur to me. And that's not what Jesus would have looked like. So
it came from Michael's.
No, or Hobby Lobby, probably Hobby Lobby.
Yeah, Hobby Lobby. There you go.
Lori Moore said, ego is another word for unevolved. And Mandy said, I just came across Therapy Jeff and that exact video. Such a great way to validate how we feel or don't feel. Yes. And Mangled Unicorn said, instigators. Aunt Jen, the aunt you never knew you needed, is here. Everyone follow her. She's a wonderful and incredible spiritual teacher. She just got on YouTube recently, so she needs all the follows she can get so we can go live together. I've known her for 40 years, so I trust her.
The aunt you never needed.
Yeah, Aunt Jen. Here she is.
Okay.
That's her whole title. I think it's Aunt Jen 888 is at her at. Kimberly said Palestinian. Yes. So yes, a Middle Eastern man. Yes. Men have been using God to excuse their horrible human behavior. Absolutely, Lori. And then Mandy said, why have some people turned religion into hate and spread the wrong message? And that's the whole point of this chapter.
That's it.
That's it. That's exactly it. Gold star for Mandy in this question, because I have some spaces starred in my chapter here, and one of the parts is, and you may recognize this behavior. It's about people trying to emulate what you identify with, objects, structures, famous people on TV who have become, very powerful person, whether they're have swollen ankles or not.
Careful.
Anyway, the content you identify with is conditioned by your environment, your upbringing, and surrounding culture. Whether you're rich or poor, whether the toy is a piece of wood or a sophisticated gadget, makes no difference as far as the suffering you caused, the suffering caused by its loss. So people who are identifying with this misogynistic, egoic culture on that side of the aisle, we'll say, they are afraid they're going to be wrong, and so they double down, triple down with their beliefs, but they are not zooming out to say, wait a minute, hold on, wait, what am I doing? Why am I just so convinced that this is the way it's going to be, and not be like, hold on, children
But
are
they're not conscious enough to think that way.
correct, right? They're unaware.
Yeah.
Because they've been conditioned. And then my other niece posted something on my personal social media, and she said, I'm just so upset about all of this stuff. Why are these women praying for this man and believing this man when all he thought of women was that they're less than and they should be subservient and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, because they're also conditioned by their culture and their religion and their families. And so, and I was having a talk with Mandy yesterday, and I was talking about this very thing. When you stay in the same place or around the same mindset for long periods of time, you're really literally unaware that there are other things and other ideas. This is why when people go to college, the side on the right say, you got indoctrinated. That's what they said about this guy before they knew who he was. He got indoctrinated in college. And it's like, no, it's not that you're indoctrinated. Your mind is widened and you have access to new information that is different. And a lot of people don't like when you push up against their boundaries and start thinking differently, because it makes them have to be like, oh, wait a minute, I have to think about what I'm thinking. And people don't want to do that. They don't want to zoom out and say, oh, I could be wrong, because of their ego. Because it literally physically pains some people. I don't know if anybody here has ever had a friend or family member who they've had an argument with, and the other person just won't admit they're wrong, but they kind of tiptoe around the fact that they were wrong. But it's like it almost hurts them physically to say, I'm sorry, I was wrong. But they'll maybe buy you a present or something, but they just cannot get those words out. That's the ego. That's all ego. And our ego the ego is the problem with everything happening right now, the current state of humanity. Like, that title couldn't be more perfect. And I got a little teary-eyed when I read it, when I was reviewing for today. I'm like, wow, this is perfectly appropriate. So Mandy, thank you for that comment. And we could probably do book club for 10 hours a day with what's going on right now. Okay. So Mangled said, Religion is crowd control, always has been. 100% agree.
Right.
100% agree.
Right.
They broke the education system on purpose. Yes, Mangold, I was a teacher for 20 years, and I couldn't go back into a classroom under any circumstances right now. I mean, I'd work at the Cheesecake Factory before I did that. I'm just saying, like, I can't even imagine. It became a babysitting job. They stick kids in front of a computer and then they give them grades, and it's broken beyond repair. And it's not because of the reasons politicians say. Teachers are who they need to talk to, not politicians who've never been teachers. They do not want critical thinkers or problem solvers 100%. I've said this for decades. And when I would give my students big projects to figure things out, I would get administrators say, no, just do this curriculum this way. And I'm like, but they're not learning anything. They're copying everything off the internet. Now they're using ChatGPT to do all their work. There's no actual learning. And I liked taking all that electronic stuff out. They don't want critical thinkers. They want soldiers and worker bees that won't question authority or anything.
Well, what project is that called?
I don't know. Say it. I'm
2025 or
Oh,
2030 or
yeah.
something?
Yes.
They want worker bees? Yeah.
Yes. I'm sorry. I forgot about
Okay,
that with all the news of this week. Yes, you're right. I forgot.
Except I've heard it called Project 2030. I don't know.
I'm sure
Who
they
knows?
have more plans for the future. I'm sure there's the religious crowd does an awful lot of indoctrination from a young age for being so scared of it. I know, I grew up Catholic and I worked at Catholic schools for 20 years, and it is absolutely what is happening. 100%. They make kids in Catholic churches confess their sins to a priest in a little tiny room. Sounds super legit, right? Don't even get me started. All right. Debbie said, form of brainwashing. Mangold said, John Waters, the director of Pink Flamingo, etc. I agree with him. Bigots should be forced to travel because the world is bigger than what they see in their little bubble. Yes. Lori said, accountability and allowing other ways of thinking about life and personal responsibilities to others. Yes, because when you're just in the same, it can be a family group, a community group, and you're just staying in the same place, you always just recycle the same ideas. When my mom died in 1986, I moved from a town of 300 people in Missouri to San Francisco, California, and talk about, because that's where my dad was, talk about an eye-opening experience. And it changed my life for the better. Like, it was the best thing that could have ever happened to me.
Sure.
But I got to grow up around all the different people and cultures and mindsets. And it shaped who I was, because I lived there from 15 to 24. And those are pretty important years to form the way you see the world. Vivian said, ego prevents people from learning the lessons that need to be learned. Yeah, exactly. Yes. Stay tuned said, yes, conditioned. I've been resisting organized religion for 50 years. I just can't make the connection my family wants me to have. They say you can't pick and choose. Yes, you can pick and choose. You are a fully formed human with your own thoughts in mind. Mangold said, the devil made me do it. Killing in the name of who again? Right? Sounds like Rage Against the Machine, that band. They talk about that. Where you about to say, God, who's bad now? Everything is relative and everything is a choice. Yes. Lori said sheep. That's funny. Because that's what both sides call each other sheep, which is ironic. They want consumers, ignorant consumers. It's good for thee, but not for me. My aunt was a school teacher when she retired. She was so sad that the kids are not learning. Yes. Sheeple, they want sheeple. Where does ego come from, and can you get rid of it?
Chapter 2.
Chapter 2. Ego is, I think ego comes from us needing to survive. I think it was a survival skill when we lived out in the wild before we had houses. We had to know that we have to eat, we have to feed our family, we have to go kill the deer, whatever it was. So we had to have a certain amount of superiority over other things. And you can get rid of it to a degree, but a certain part of the ego may be important. There are very few people who have no ego. I think Eckhart Tolle is probably one of the ones that has very little.
Only one in the world.
Yeah. Yeah.
No.
You can dissolve your ego a lot. One of the most important things to do to dissolve your ego is notice when you're judging. Notice when you're judging and just say, oh, I judged that person. I judged them. It doesn't matter what they're wearing. Our society, the women in our society are conditioned to judge other women by how they look, what they wear. So first and foremost, stop judging and stop feeling like what you have is better than others. Anytime you feel superiority over someone for anything, your education, gossip. This was a big, hard one for me to understand because, I grew up in a family of gossipers. Anybody else?
Hey, I'm still in one.
And complaining, gossip and complaining to me are the two things that I have to really work on hard because I grew up in a family of gossipers and complainers. And both things I learned through this book are of the ego and so many other things. My computer wants to do an update in the middle of my streaming. So gossip is of the ego because you are sharing information about someone else, and that's giving you a sense of superiority because I have the information. Anything that's I have is ego. And then complaining is you're drawing attention to you by doing something negative. So those two things for me, and it's all in this book. It's all in here. So we'll get to it, eventually. But those things are of the ego. Anything that makes you feel more than, better than, have access to something. I have access to information you didn't have. And I'm going to tell you a story about this person so I can feel superior to them and to you. So you're getting a double ego hit with gossip. And I was like, oh no, I have done that a billion times, and I'm not perfect. I still engage in some of that. I mean, anybody else? Is it just me?
Oh, no.
Nope, I'd never do any of that. But did you hear the one?
Mangled said, yes, you can get rid of it, but keeping it gone is a work in progress. Yes. I had extreme trauma, last resort thing. I tried shrooms. I have never felt better since. Not like all gone, but more balanced. It was like a slate wiping. Do you mean like psychedelics? Mangled? Let me know. I did that one time in the 90s. One of the greatest experiences I've ever had in my life, like hands down. It was beautiful. We'll talk about that on another show. That's another show. That's another episode. Hi, Rayette Petite. I know I'm getting that wrong. Bit late. Had to do some grocery shopping before the rain hit. Got it. Yes. Okay. So what's next on the agenda? Do you guys have questions? What do you feel about it, about the chapter? This page 26 says, the quicker you are in attaching verbal or mental labels to things, people, or situations, the more shallow and lifeless your reality becomes, and the more deadened you become to reality, the miracle of life that continuously unfolds within and around you. In this way, cleverness may be gained, but wisdom is lost. And so are joy, love, creativity, and aliveness. So this is when we're gossiping, giving labels to people. Oh, that lady has ugly shoes, or why'd she spend money, or her hair looks crazy, or she's overweight, or she's too skinny. You know how we're trained. Any of that is like, it's not allowing you to have depth in your life because you're seeing the surface and not what's inside somebody. Let's see. I'm just reading. I read an article, finding mushrooms erase existing neural pathways and then you rewrite them. I have read that too, Mangled. Vivian said, my logic for life that no one in my life seemed to be able to comprehend while I was growing up is beautifully captured in chapter 2. My soul was happy while reading this chapter. Oh, I love that.
My goodness.
Okay.
Would you read that again?
What Vivian
That's so
said?
beautiful. Yes.
I'll put it up on the screen. I don't know if you can see it.
Okay.
My logic for life that no one in my life seemed to be able to comprehend while I was growing up is beautifully captured in chapter 2. My soul was so happy reading this chapter. Vivian is one of my annual mentees. So hi, Jen, kitty cat heart eyes. Okay, so what do we have next? I have some other page 29. And so as the child grows up, which we all were children, the original I thought attracts other thoughts to self. It becomes identified with a gender, possessions, the sense perceived body, a nationality, race, religion, profession, politicians, sides of the political aisle. Other things the I identifies with are roles: mother, father, husband, wife, and so on. And I don't know this lady directly as a friend, but she's a relative of a friend. And she identified with being a mother so much, and she had 5 kids, and then her kids got bigger and she was completely lost in life because all she identified with is, I'm a mother, I'm a mother, I'm a mother, I'm a mother, 24/7, everything with the kids.
Yeah.
And then they're like grown. And then what do you do? It's like a teacher. I'm a teacher. And all you do is you're teaching, and you're at the school, and you're at the dances and the clubs and the games. And then you retire and you're like, what do I do? Now an athlete. This is why famous actors and actresses, you see the disastrous consequences when they get older and they're not good for TV or movies anymore because, you may have a wrinkle or something, or you gained weight. That's another problem. They identify with this character they've been playing as an actor or actress, or an athlete or famous person of some kind. And then when that goes away, because Hollywood and sports that's temporary. You can't do that forever for most people. And it's fleeting. And then what happens? Look at Matthew Perry. I mean, the guy from Friends, like, he's one of many examples. He just couldn't. He had other stuff before even that, but that just made it worse. So many stories I know you can think of. So the other thing I wanted to talk about, if anybody doesn't have any comments about that, I have another note. I have so many notes. Literally, it's been 30 minutes and I've gotten through 2 of my notes and I have like 20. So in the chapter, do you remember the story of the lost ring? Anybody read it?
I read the chapter, but the lost ring.
So there was a lady who was sick with cancer, and she had a valuable ring, and she thought somebody took it, her caretaker. And so the lady was learning about her ego, and that she was so worried about the ring as a possession, and it was mine, it was mine, it was mine, that, you know, she kind of had this realization that, oh my God, wait a minute, that's not really important, right? It's not, I'm more worried about what I want and what I think than the bigger picture again. And so I was talking to someone yesterday, and they had an experience where they had asked a family member to hold something for them in their purse. And it was their object. It was their thing. Legally, it was theirs. She said, "Can you hold this for me?" And she's like, "Sure." And so like a couple of weeks later, the owner of the object went into the purse of the other person just to grab it and take it out. And it has caused a hellacious upheaval in that family, where it's like the lady who owned the purse but not the object has completely pushed this person basically out of the family and ostracized her. And it was like, what? I didn't steal your money. I didn't take anything. I just went in and grabbed it and took my thing. And it's like the owner of the purse has made this story about her, and that was my purse. And it's like, but it was her object. She didn't do anything else. And these are examples of people who make the story about them to shine a light on the bad person that the other person is. And it's like, she's not a bad person. She went and got her thing she asked you to hold, and that was that. It's not about you, purse lady. It's you're making it about you and ostracizing this other person who maybe should have said, "Hey, I'm going to grab the thing out of the purse." But it just, I don't know if anybody else has experiences in families where one little thing can turn into a huge story, and it's not, you know. And all right, so give me some.
We don't have all day. We don't have all day.
So we have to keep things in perspective, right? When it's about, look at me, I was wronged. I was wronged. So feel sorry for me. Let's make it about me. So everybody looks at me and feels sorry and thinks I'm good and she's bad. And that's ego to the millionth degree. Look how good I am and how bad she is. This is why gossip can be so bad. Because look at me, I'm good, and I'm gossiping about that bad person. So you're telling a story about this bad person to make you look good. And the purse lady in this story, I know her. And she is the height of ego and superficiality and negativity. And this tracks with her personality incredibly. Like, she will never not have her ego. There's just no way. It's just not possible. Anyway.
Well, I have a question.
Yes.
Just a quick question. In the Lost Ring, I did read it and I was impressed with the story, but I was kind of weak in understanding on my I-ness. Can you expand on that?
Where at? Which part? What page?
I think it's on page 40.
Okay. I am.
It says, this time I tried to feel rather than think the answer, and suddenly I could feel my I amness.
Okay, so
I've never felt that before.
I am, they're saying, feeling who they are. I am feeling, if I can feel the I am so strongly, then who I am hasn't been diminished at all. So the I amness is still me. Just a story about the lady with the purse. It's about me. She was feeling her I amness. I am the one that's being wronged. I am the one that's better than the one that wronged me. That's what he's talking about. Sometimes this book is so dense. When you read something like that, it's like, wait a minute. I mean, you can see I've read it 1,000 times. Like, it's not a one-time read to understand it. It's impossible. So don't feel bad if things like that are like, what the heck does he mean? It takes several readings to get it all. It's like watching Star Wars. I've watched Star Wars a million times, and there are still things I don't understand. And it's been, 50 years that Star Wars came out. So did that help answer your question, Jean?
Oh, absolutely. I didn't know if they were thinking about an external material item or actually it was.
It can be
with
both.
themselves.
It can be
Yeah.
both, especially if you identify with a material item like I know we've all seen men who buy fancy cars and they go through their midlife crisis, typical story. And I have this, whatever, I don't even care about cars at all, just as long as it gets me safely to where I'm going. But they're so identified with the car, it becomes an extension of their I am. And then if something happens to that car, same thing with any material object for anything. I'm just using this example because it's so common. If something happens to that fancy car, it's like it happened to the human
Destroys
person.
them.
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. Anything you identify with so deeply that if it's taken away from you, that you're destroyed, you feel like you'll be destroyed by it, is 100% of your ego. That's the same thing that's happening in the political arena right now. These people feel like they will be destroyed if their side is wrong. That's why they fight so hard to prove they're right. Like the C. Kirk situation.
Mhm.
They were convinced it was a transgender person with blue hair
Right.
and said all this stuff when it was a right-wing MAGA
Mhm.
Republican who did it. Now,
Mhm.
to me, I don't understand that, why, but they're so dysfunctional that they're fracturing internally. And so these bro podcasters are pitting against each other because they're identified with their belief system. So it's not shocking that this is happening to anybody that's paying attention. All of you, I'm sure, feel the same or similarly. Lori said, identity defined by you or others seems to be the prison of the mind. Therefore, perception of everything, ? Identity defined by you or others seems to be the prison of the mind. Yes. Perception of everything. So yes, it can, I think what you mean is it can skew your perception. Yeah, because you think so much. This is the thing. This is the most important thing. And we have to realize everything we have, physically own, people we're in relationships with, everything can be gone in a flash. And if there's anything that you would be beside yourself, I'm not talking about losing a loved one now. That's a different story because there's mourning and stuff, but still to some degree, you shouldn't feel like your life will end if your car gets wrecked or your house burns down, right? Like I actually had a client yesterday that happened to, and it's like, most things can be replaced. You can't live your life around physical objects or identification with your job or your profession or your political affiliation or your religion. Like all of these things can be lost. And if you're holding on, it's like that song, Hold On Loosely. I think it's Boston, this band. If you squeeze too tightly, you're going to lose control. That's this chapter, right? Hold on loosely. You can't squeeze too tightly. Let's see. Mangled perception is everything, and most people live off their perception. One must zoom out to have perspective, and not everyone can do that. Yes, because a lot of people are living in that they've got blinders on. I only see what's right here and not all this other stuff. Not the facts, because who needs to hear facts? That's 100% true. Kelly, hello. Think of it this way. You are special and unique and loved by people who know you, but zoom out. We're all people and we are all the same. We all deserve equanimity. It's the lens that needs to change. Yes.
Oh, that's great.
That is good. That's very good. I say this when I give examples when people are, struggling with certain things. I'm like, look, now you don't have to imagine this if you don't want to. Take all the clothes off all the people you know and just have everybody stand there naked.
Yeah.
Now, you may have a friend who's draped in diamonds and gold and a friend who just wears, Walmart sweatpants and everything in between. You take all their clothes off and put them in a pile and, put everybody's hair in a ponytail. You don't know who's who if you're a stranger, right? Everybody's on equal ground. When we pass away, we're not, unless you're an Egyptian pharaoh, you're probably not going to get buried with all of your possessions. You're just going to be like everybody else who's passed away. Your body will disintegrate in some way, form, or fashion. So we all need to get a little better grip on reality, I guess, is the best way to say it, and not the false reality. Mangled, I am who I am, though, not what other society want us to be. Ego is the self, but balance is the goal. You can be all who, or you're a bad word. I don't want to get banned. Krista, my daughter, calls them the rolling peony. I think I must have missed a comment somewhere. Glenda said, I've been going through this since my kids grew up, living their own lives and retired from my 40-year career, working my way through realizing when I'm in my ego versus in the moment, finding a way to my true purpose. Yeah. And that, Glenda, is one of the biggest threads in this book. We have to, we all have a true purpose, and not everybody's purpose is to be like, Oprah Winfrey or Mel Robbins and have a huge microphone. We can all help make changes just with the people that are around us. But first we have to identify our own egos. First, we have to identify what we're doing wrong. And self-reflection is the worst. Anybody here a fan of self-reflection? Nobody's raising their hand. It's terrible. When I went to therapy with my husband, because, after 30 years, you go to therapy, hopefully. And I had to realize I was making mistakes and it wasn't all his fault. Like, wait a minute. No. That can't be right. That's impossible. He's definitely wrong and I'm right. And that was pure ego. Because how could I make a mistake? That doesn't make sense. I'm a nice person. I can't make mistakes like that. And so there is a huge lack of self-reflection happening right now in many communities. I'm not saying it's just one side is wrong of this political stuff. There are people on the other side that are extremists, just as extreme. Living in the Bay Area, you see the extreme. I don't think they have the propensity for violence that the side on the right does. But on the left, the super left, there's a lot of extreme ideas. And we need to meet in the middle. We need to meet in the middle, because don't we want to help everybody and not just certain people? I mean, I know we here want to help everybody, not just certain people, but that's the goal. Mangled said, if you do better, it means you need to take accountability that you had to change for whatever reason. Saying I was wrong won't kill you. Yeah. And some people think it will. Like I said that earlier. We come with nothing, we leave with nothing. Correct, Vivian. Yeah, I don't hold attachment to things. I have a couple of objects I really like physical things, but I don't, people say, I got a fancy car. I live in this neighborhood. And I'm like, okay, awesome. I don't know. I don't know what neighborhood that is or what you're talking about. I live in a house that, I don't know. I have neighbors right next to me. That's about as far as I know. My car gets me to where I need to go. That's about it. The cars, Peony, not the correct plural. Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I say the big truck syndrome, Krista. Size, scale, and scope. We aren't all going to be Princess Diana. Just because your scope may be helping those in your immediate vicinity, that may be the mission or part of it, because we make many contracts. Yes. 100%. Meeting each other in the middle. I don't know, Jennifer Lisa Vest. So if you could drop a link to who that is, or email me. Coming of the purple people, meeting each other in the middle. Oh, okay. Yeah. That's what we need. Kelly reflects on her picture as a child of herself. Yeah, it's and you can heal that inner child also. That's a big part of self-reflection, healing the inner child. Because most adults you meet are suffering from things that affected them in their childhood, no matter if you're 30, 50, 90, most adults still have that wounded inner child. And then they identify with groups. This is how cults start. You guys know, people get sucked into a cult because they're in pain and they want to be in a group. They want to be loved. Most of the US are in the middle, but they want us to choose, divide, and conquer. Yes, 100%. Mandy says, I don't hold attachments to items either. It's just stuff to me. I love throwing things away, or giving them away. I like to give a lot of stuff away. I had a ping pong table I bought because it gets really hot here and I don't like to go outside in the heat. And so I was cleaning up my house and I'm like, I hardly used it and I was giving it away. And so I put it on my community Facebook page. Like, if anybody wants it, that'll use it, because it was just sitting in a box. And this lady came over. She's like, oh, let me Venmo you money. I'm like, it's a gift to me if you take it off my hands more than anything, because I got the use I wanted out of it and it was still in very good condition. So she was shocked. She must be surrounded by people that are greedy, I guess. I don't know the lady. She just lives down the street. Stay tuned said, I don't care about things for status. I care about things for comfort or ease. Agree. Okay. Thank you, Gina. I'm glad this group got to me first before the cults did. Good. It's a happy cult. All right. Let's see what else I have in the notes here. I didn't even make it through I read the whole chapter again, but I didn't make it for notes because I knew after last week, we weren't going to make it through the whole chapter.
Can I ask you a question?
Of course.
Please. The last section in that chapter, the peace that passes all understanding. Oh, Lord. But near the last, on the last page, this one line, I really like this. When you yield internally, when you surrender, a new dimension of consciousness opens up.
What,
Okay,
that
I get
page
that.
57 or 58?
58, excuse me.
58. Okay.
58. It's like the last paragraph. But then he goes on down and he says, coincidences happen. Now, I struggle with that. I mean, okay, I can say coincidences happen, but I think they're real. I don't think they're coincident. I don't know.
I don't
I'm
think
stuck
he
there.
means they're not real. I don't think that's what he means.
Well, do you know what I'm trying to say? I don't
No,
Mm.
it's okay. Just restate it.
Coincidences happen. I always thought there are no and this has not been always, but just in the last maybe 20, 40 years of my life, I've kind of figured out there are no coincidences. Things happen for a reason. Everything's for a reason. We may not understand it.
So let me
I'm
say
stuck.
this.
Okay.
So this is a perfect example for what this chapter is saying. So you're zooming into that line, coincidences happen. And
Yes.
through your societal training, you have identified with the word coincidences as meaning it's an unlikely event that isn't meant to be, because that's your identification with the word.
Okay.
But release your identification, because to me, I use the word coincidences, but I think there are no such thing as coincidences, that it's meant to happen. So he's not meaning it wasn't meant to happen. It was just a coincidence.
Okay.
He's just
Got
saying this is something that happened that someone would label as a coincidence, because he has to use words to explain things. So,
Right.
you know, this is a perfect example of a small little thing we don't ever even think about. I've identified with this word, and it's not bad or good. It's just indifferent, whatever. But it's a great example. I identified with this word, and it's making me not understand this paragraph because I believe that there are no coincidences. But
Okay.
he said there is, and now I'm confused.
It's exactly like what he said at the very beginning. When you call a bird, a stone,
Right.
you label it. So it is. Got it.
Can you tell I've read the book 1,000 times?
I've only read it twice.
Because that's what it takes.
Yes.
Because it is, there were many times I've gotten stuck and been like, wait a minute, I got to read that like next week.
No.
Let me try again. So that was a perfect example. Perfect example. Mangled, everything is a choice. Do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? I say that all the time. All the time. I learned that probably on Oprah 40 years ago. Our paths are made up of our choices, synchronicities, coincidences. Oh, that's funny.
Hello.
Increased when we are in the flow of the universe. Yes, right. When we're in the flow, and I say this to my clients all the time. When you, like, people, they'll say, I can't find my spirit guide. I can't find my spirit guide. I can't. You're telling yourself you can't. You blocked yourself because you're not in the flow. And I always say pause and shift. The pause, when you take a break and you don't worry about it and you don't identify with, I have to find my spirit guide. When you step back and you do something different and you're not worried about it, that's when the miracle happens, right? However you want to define it. Don't identify with my words. So yeah, I agree. The flow, you have to be in the flow. And sometimes you have to step away from something to be in the flow.
Mm-hmm.
When I see more synchronicities, it means I'm on the right path. Yes, agree. And I also tell my clients this: when you want that job so bad and you've gone to 6 interviews, which I don't know if anybody's been on job interviews recently, but it's ridiculous the number of interviews you have to go through now. It's outrageous. If they can't decide by the 2nd interview, anyway. So I'll say you go through the 6 interviews and you really want that job and you want it so bad and you know it's the right job for you and you don't get it. That's the universe saying you're not supposed to have that job. That's not the job for you. And then a week later, somebody might just be having a casual conversation with you and say, oh yeah, so-and-so has a job opening. And then you apply, you have 2 interviews and you get it. Like when you're in the flow, you can't force. When you're trying to force anything, you stop the flow of energy. Don't ever force, allow. That's why in high school girls, back in my day would be like, oh, I gotta have the guy. I gotta have this guy. I gotta have this guy. Oh my God. And it's like, calm down. See, in hindsight, as a woman that's more mature now and older, I'm like, oh, these poor kids, these poor kids. Like, but back when you're a teenager, you're like, you're upset. Girls were real bad at where I went to school about it.
Yeah, it's always about the boyfriend, and it's always about, oh, God, get married. I gotta get married. Get married. If I'm 30 and not married, then there's a problem with me.
And
lot of pressure.
yeah, and we were conditioned by society. We're conditioned by society.
When you're 16 I don't know, maybe 15 years old, you get a subscription to Bride magazine.
Yeah. Yep.
Nuts.
Yep.
Nuts.
Yeah.
And not a subscription to Feminist Now.
Right.
which is what we should be.
Boring Steinem.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Priscilla said there's no such thing as coincidence, I think is what she's trying to say. Yes. Right. Yes, correct. Yes, I understood that. And because I think that everything happens the way it's supposed to happen. So Priscilla, yes, I agree. I think you get it now, Debbie, what I was saying. Okay.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Stay tuned said, I think about interviewing the author if he'll do it for free. Oh, think about interviewing the author. Yeah, I mean, I guess I could reach out. I don't know if he'd ever get the email though. Lori, let go and let God. Yep. Or the universe or source, however people define it. And hi, Jen T. Okay. My bladder can't hold more than an hour. So that's why my lives are always an hour. I can't sit here for 3 hours, but we will do chapter 3 next week. I'm still debating on the dates and times. I had to do this morning because I had other stuff going on yesterday. So let's see, Wednesday, dental work. Friday, my neighbor called me and needs an emergency dog sitting. Said, oh, that's awesome. Now talk about a synchronicity. If you don't reach out, then it'll definitely be a no. Krista, I'm not sure what you mean. I must have missed something in the chat. So we will go over chapter 3. Now, if we want to still work on chapter 2, what do you guys think? Do you want to continue working on chapter 2 or move to chapter 3? Because chapter 2 was long. 3? He's like, let's get out of this chapter. It doesn't
get end of chapter 2 and continue to 3.
Okay.
Okay.
End of chapter. Oh, the author interview. Oh yeah, Krista. Okay. Yeah, you're right. So yeah, we'll do the end of chapter 2 and do chapter 3. This book is heavy. The core of the ego is the next chapter. I didn't even look at my notes once that I typed up for this. I'm not doing that anymore because we never get to them, which is fine. We should definitely keep going the way we are because your questions and comments make this. I mean, I think this is a happy place. And one more thing I'll say. When we encounter people with very different belief systems than us that we're like, how do you believe that? Take a moment and observe and come forward with love in your heart for them as a human, just as a living being, but you don't have to let them cross your boundaries. You don't have to let them try to convince you how to feel, because we're not ever going to convince anybody how to feel about anything. People feel the way they feel. We can just share our experiences if they're willing to hear it, but otherwise, love and boundaries, and keep a shield around you if they're negative, and then get as far away from them as you can if they're being negative. That's what I've got. Gina, can I post my notes? I will try to remember to do that in a few minutes. I'll put them on the show notes or in a comment or something. All right. Thank you, everyone. I'll be live Monday morning for Monday morning meditation at about the same time as today. And then do my regular lives next week.
So is it next Friday or next Saturday?
I
Or
will,
do we know?
I'll post
You'll
it.
post it.
I'll
Okay,
post it.
okay.
A lot of people are asking to do it at a different time because they live on
Okay.
the Pacific coast. So
Yeah,
we'll
crack it on.
yeah, I'll let you know as the week goes on. You'll see it posted.
Okay.
Thank you everyone so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Nik.
Bye.
Thank you, Nik.
Bye. You're welcome.
I didn't tell you.